Hey, Margaret.
Yeah, Anton?
You know what people don't talk about enough?
What?
How the quote-unquote fight between Villa and August over Villa's phone is a microcosm of their current dynamic. Welcome to People Don't Talk About Young Royals. I'm Anton. My pronouns are he, they.
And I'm Margaret. My pronouns are they, them.
And we're people here to discuss the show our friends are sick of hearing us talk about.
If that sounds like you, stick around. If your friend sent you this podcast out of a desperate attempt to get you to watch Young Royals, take this as a sign.
Go watch Young Royals, then come back to this podcast.
Anton, what are we talking about today?
Today we will be discussing the acting choices of Season 1, Episode 2. Before the episode's disclaimer, Editing Anton has a cheeky little update for our listeners. The amount of released podcast material, as of publishing the previous episode, Revolution Part 2, No Words, has now surpassed double the runtime of Seasons 1 and 2 combined, the only released seasons of the show at time of recording. This is our first one of these that is recorded after you recorded this entire episode, so hope it doesn't sound too weird, but on to the disclaimer.
In this discussion, we won't be summarizing the plot of the episode because we already did that. If you need or want a refresher, head back 2 episodes in our feed to our most recent This Week at Hilarishka for a full breakdown. This episode discussion will likely be all over the place, so strap in. You've been warned.
Okay, everybody keep that cold open in mind, but I do think for an episode that is as chronological as this one, or at least is written out in our notes to be as chronological as one, like, keep August and Villa fighting over Villa's phone in your mind, but I do think it makes sense to just kind of go in chronological order, so we're not all over the place.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Cool. My earliest timestamp is at 2 minutes and 25 seconds.
So is mine.
Ooh, okay. The little subtle look that Villa gives Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I don't have much to say about Get on the Table that I won't say later. And, like, there wasn't really a lot acting-wise that I wanted to call out. I mean, there was the choice that I do want to keep coming back to that I forgot until I had to summarize this episode, or this scene. And I don't even know where we're going to discuss it, but it's not going to be here because it's not directly relevant. But I do want to point out Vincent miming a blowjob to Nils. How did I miss that the first time?
Yeah.
Because then also you have later in this that I don't have that written down. Like I have them also playing chicken too, of like, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know. Who's to say?
Do I want to say I ship it? I don't really. But
don't.
also, what the fuck? Okay, I don't get it. I get it, but also, it's just so much. Okay, I want to save it for Privilege Punishment. I think that's a good place to put it. Like,
I agree with that. I think we should put it there.
Cool. Hopefully, remember. Anyways,
well, we remembered the thing for the revolution, so I have hope in us.
That's fair. Okay. But anyways, I will say that little but at the end of this scene, Villa's little subtle look at Simon at lunch before the title card drops is what I would argue is Villa's only subtle look in the entire episode.
Yeah.
Like I think that's I will grant him that one was subtle. The rest of them are not.
No.
But
they're not.
No, but and like listeners, so you know, we've come to realize that these episodes are not gonna go very deep. They're kind of just like that's just an appreciation for the actors.
Yeah. Always got to appreciate the actors.
And is having a little party for them, essentially. But not really going into depth to, like, really necessarily the reasons behind these things, because, like, this isn't really a plot discussion. It's a detailed discussion. It's basically like, hey, did you notice this thing? Well, let's appreciate this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And an effort to not make our choice of these an hour and a half.
Like the last one was, because we didn't realize what this episode was, I think. All right.
Yeah. And then we ran out of things to talk about in later episodes.
Your next point, I think, do we have the same next point? No, I have one more point before your next point, which is August crashing Felice's convo with Villa.
Yeah. Do you see him like so running?
Funny.
He's like
sprinting.
He's like
gotta
go
but
fast.
A detail I did want, like, one, I just want to shout out Nikita's acting there, because her face is precious when she suddenly realizes that Argo's arms around her, and she's like, can't be a bitch right now, but I want to be. Like,
and she keeps pushing it off. She's like, get off of me. And he doesn't catch a hint, which is his character in a nutshell. But
yeah, August the Clueless. But one detail I wanted to point out with their subsequent conversation that I had not really noticed before is that when he offers to take her on a date and she says no, first she's like, you mean to Bjarstad? And she says it in like such a clearly like condescending way, which I think, given where we are later in the episode of like actually seeing what Bjarstad is like, I think really fills out the world and like gives us Hillerska's like general consensus about this nearby town where Simon and Sarah are from, because it's like, I don't even know if Bjarstad gets name dropped in the first episode, but like we get its name in this episode, and if this is the first time we're hearing from it. We hear it from Felice, and we don't hear of it as a good place to go on a date. And so like, I think with Felice as Felice the complicit, Felice the conformer, I think it's very interesting to like just kind of get that broadcast to us subtly through dialogue.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, and to some extent, art of the choice is also art of the writing with Lisa.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely some things that are purely art of the choice. But I also think this episode is also a chance for us to recognize the actors are great, and our actors are great because a lot of times they are evocatively saying Lisa's words and the writers in general's words. Because I don't know if Lisa probably does not. It probably does not go straight from Lisa writing the script to them shooting it. Like there's definitely probably a lot of first and second and third passes, but by other people. But yeah. All right, what was your next point?
This is gonna highlight my horse girl past, but
we love it.
We'd love to see it. We love horse girls. 9.5 minutes in, about when Felice is in the stables and trying to get a picture with Rousseau, and she's like,
I have something before that.
Okay, go.
Sorry, I thought you were going to talk. I didn't realize we'd already got past your like 3:45. Although that was your point. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to flip back and put your 2 points, and then I didn't do it correctly. I wonder if for these episodes we should just have a shared timeline, so we're not having to.
Probably.
That would make more sense. The things you realize. But
yeah.
2 things I just want before we talk about Margaret's horse girl past. 2 things I want to highlight. Is that from 4 minutes and 54 seconds onward, from Villa's first look at Simon in math class, Villa's looks are never what I would call subtle.
Yeah.
Like he's literally what I called magnetized to Simon's presence in a room. Like,
yes.
Like he can't go
100%.
a certain length of time without looking at Simon.
100%.
Which we talked about last time, but I just wanted to call out a number there. And then, I mean, now I think we're talking about the same scene, but I do want to just quick shout out, like, at 9 minutes, 11 seconds, I would like to have friends.
That was so sad.
It's devastating every single time.
So heartbreaking.
And
I watched this episode again this morning, and I cannot tell you how many times I've watched this episode, an unholy amount. every time. I'm like, oh, Sarah.
Honestly.
I'm so sorry.
Because it's like Felice is being nice for one of the first times, like when she's not drunk. And Sarah's like, well, actually, I would like to have friends. Which is like...
It's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But...
All right.
Your horoscope passed.
My horoscope passed. So Felice is trying to get a picture with Rousseau so that she can pretend that everything is great at the stables. And when she's trying to get this picture with him, I don't know if you pick up on it, but her eyes are like very wide. Like Felice's. And she's like yanking on this horse's neck so strongly, and he just doesn't move. And that always cracks me up because a lot of animals, horses included, can like kind of perceive how you're feeling and base how much they listen to you based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that scene in particular to me is always like, no fucking wonder this horse doesn't listen to you and you can't ride this horse because you're genuinely afraid of it, so the horse doesn't listen to you.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was a horse girl.
I love how our next 2 points are basically identical.
Are they? Oh, hell yeah. Bro tap!
Bro tap. Oh, you need to read what you said because I'm dying over here.
All right, 1045, bro tap. How to make any interaction incredibly platonic passing, a masterclass by Wilhelm of Sweden.
It's just so good. What I referred to it as is the shift of Wilhelm being just Villa to Prince Wilhelm.
Yeah.
Like as soon as August arrives.
Yeah.
And like you already called it out, like that whole like from like 1042-ish like onwards, like we talk about this at length, especially in like part 2 of Revolution, so I don't want to belabor the point, but I think if people wanted to know exactly what we were talking about, that's where it is. And just A+ acting, honestly. Like it's just like the
I love it.
The subtle emotions of this episode. Like everyone just gets better in this episode. Like they were already good in the pilot, and then everyone just becomes a better actor in this episode, I think.
And I don't understand how, but they all did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think it comes to something I think I've said to you off mic, is that like first episode is everyone's character introductions, and now we just kind of just get to live in these characters. And I think for the actors too, they get to live in these characters beyond their introductions and like figure out what they are like day to day, and that gives me a much clearer sense of who they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the case of Wilhelm, how they've been changing, even just in these past few weeks.
Yeah.
And then we both have the abrupt, awkward silence from Ivan Rash when he says he doesn't want to stay in Bjarstad forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I always forget about that scene. I think I block it out because it is so uncomfortable.
Yeah. To me, that scene is very like Simon is obviously resists being anything similar to the people he goes to school with at Hilarska. Like he doesn't want to befriend them, except for Wilhelm. He doesn't want to be like them.
Which he says is the exception in this episode.
Yes, he does. That's why I did the little.
Yeah.
Except for Wilhelm. He doesn't want to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't believe the things they believe. But he also has very different goals than the friends that he's had.
Yeah.
Presumably for a long time.
Yeah, and I think this solidifies for us explicitly what his motivations are for staying.
Yeah.
Like why he puts up with Hilarska.
Yeah.
Like as much as he can hate it there, he can't deny the opportunities it's going to bring him.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if he does well. But one little detail in dialogue that I picked up on that I really didn't see it until this time, and I was really hit hard by it. After that comment and after the silence, Ayub says, "There's pizza. I hope you enjoy it." And there's something about that undertone there that he's like, I hope you're not too good for delivery pizza.
Yeah. That hurts. I actually didn't pick up on that until you said it just now, but that hurts.
Yeah, because it's like, that feels like the tone there to me.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. Because it's like, also, what's also heartbreaking there is that like Rosh and Ayub are having a little conversation with their eyes too that we're not even privy to because we don't see them outside of them interacting with Simon. So like we don't know what that look even means really, and neither does he.
Right.
And it's like this first real sign. It's like Simon's been at Hilarska for a month, and Ayub and Rosh are still at Marienburg together, and like they have a friendship outside of Simon.
Yeah.
That Simon isn't privy to, and which means neither are we. And then that's just also heartbreaking in its own little way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We're finally at the cold open. Unless you have something before it.
I don't think so.
Nope.
I think we are at your cold open.
Yes. So the word, a little English majory term, microcosm, basically just means like it is a like condensed version of like just a smaller version in one scene of their dynamic that plays out across this entire episode, of Wilhelm really trying to achieve any sort of autonomy or privacy around August, and August literally taking it away from him.
Yeah.
August quite literally coming in between Wilhelm and Eric's relationship and intercepting the call.
Yeah.
But also, I say fight in quotation marks because, like, how, like...
It's more of a struggle.
Yeah, because, like, Wilhelm, like, gets more forceful as he goes on, but, like, he definitely doesn't start... He tries to start as polite as possible. He's like, could I have my phone back? And, like, he reaches for it, and it's like... And then August is literally playing keep away with Wilhelm's own phone. And it's infuriating, but it's also just, like... It tells us so much about both of their characters.
Yeah.
And I think I want to really highlight the comedy gold of Wilhelm rushing to get ready the second he sees Simon. I get
yeah.
I mentioned it last time, but I get in Revolution, but it gets me every time.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have to go. Shit, just kidding. I'm gonna go right now. See you, bye.
Exactly. Also, something I didn't realize until this, I mean, I could have been paying too much attention to Edvin's face and like may have read this a bit wrong, but quickly watching through the episode, I feel like I saw him like I always seem like him like pushing through to like get Simon to see him, but also I feel like I caught maybe like that he didn't actually mean to get spotted by August. Like it seems a little bit almost reluctant, or he's like, ugh, fine, August saw me. I have to acknowledge that I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, I think it's
maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just like it's very obvious. Like it's just again are the choice. Like we know immediately through acting alone that he's there for Simon.
Oh, big time.
Which also becomes obvious in something that you highlighted last time, which is like those brief moments of them just like smiling at each other amidst like when the planks are over. And like I love how like they're just finding this joy with being around each other, even in the midst of undergoing like a grueling workout led by August.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
I don't have another one until 1930, so I don't know when your next one is.
I have an 18 minutes one.
Okay.
Something I didn't catch until I summarized this scene is the particularity of August taking off his watch and laying it on his desk just so. Like he lays it like perfectly vertical and flat on his desk, like with the most like precise. It's like the most precise thing I've potentially seen any character do ever. Like I'm only barely exaggerating. Like it's very particular.
Yeah.
But then contrast that with something that infuriates me every time, which is he has his door wide open as he's goes to consume illegal pills.
Yeah. Well, later he consumes them out in the middle of the schoolyard.
Yeah. Like, literally the audacity.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like his episode name could have been August with Audacity, so...
But I just think it's so...
Anyways.
It's just so funny to me.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think the particularity of how he lays his watch really goes into my next point, which I think is all... I think both of our next points are about the psychologist appointment, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Well, mine's about him talking to Vincent for pills.
Okay, you talk about Vincent for a sec. Because these are all together, so...
Okay, yeah. So August goes searching for Vincent, and he knocks on, like, I don't know how many doors. I'm gonna guess 3.
I think it is 3, yeah.
I can't remember.
I summarized the scene. It was 3, yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Vincent is at the third one. So.
Yeah. And he's like hardly standing still for that entire interaction. Meanwhile, Vincent is like cool as a cucumber type of thing.
Yeah.
And so he's either like very desperate, he's embarrassed, or he's about to piss himself, or potentially all 3.
Yeah. I mean, again, we've mentioned this on the pod before, but like ADHD pills are meth.
Yeah.
Which means he's an addict because he doesn't need them. Which means he's going through withdrawals. Yeah. Like,
yeah. So he's desperate.
Yeah. But I want to really highlight from 20 minutes, 33 seconds to 21, about roughly like 21 minutes and 6 seconds. What I call August like blundering into agreeing to symptoms of anxiety when he's trying to convince Boris he has ADHD.
Yes. My favorite is when he like acts out those symptoms.
Yes. I mean, it's giving later. It is giving Villa, I have a sore throat. like pretend to have a sore throat. Which is something I do highlight later. But I will say, I think we'll table this until August episode, but I feel like the scene has so many layers.
Yeah.
Because I think Boris is diagnosing him correctly. Like, he is reading him for filth, to use a drag term. Like, it is, like, and I think all I needed to see was laying that watch down just so on his desk. I'm like, this is someone with anxiety. Like, no joke. Like, this is so, it's obvious. And, like, the way that August would benefit from seeing Boris for real.
Oh my god. Honestly,
we haven't even got into all of it.
I can't say what I want.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even we find out in this episode, like, for a fact, like, I don't think he probably even saw, like, maybe if he knows who Boris is, maybe he did see him for his dad and everything.
Yeah. I'm kind of doubtful though.
Yeah, but also, like, how else would he have would he like fully know Boris and like enough to insult him? But also, August doesn't need to know that much about someone to insult him. So I don't know.
I was gonna say August is just kind of douche. So
yeah. But like, he calls him a Birkenstock wearing socialist, which flot our corrections episode for what that also what alternatively means. But it's like it's still a term of being an insult. It's a term of contempt.
Yeah.
But I think I just want to say, like, in general, something I realized while doing these notes, Malta is killing it in this episode.
Oh my god, he kills it.
Like, I think I think it's not like he doesn't do a great job in the first episode, but I think we were so attached to just like hating on August for our first episode that we didn't really fully highlight it enough. But also, now that August gets more to do in this episode, like, Malta Gardinger managed to continue. And sorry, Swedish listeners, if I just pronounced that terrible, but like, I always get confused with the A with the circle over it. But like, he continues to make us hate August more while still revealing the
Yeah.
truth of him, like, bit by bit.
Yeah.
And, like...
It's like, yeah, I'm getting explanation for why he sucks, but, man, I still hate him. I don't even care.
And I think, like, perfect example is at the end of this scene, as we're, like, starting to really get a sense, like, if you're really watching, like, how stressed August really is. And then he ends it by waving his status around to try to threaten to get Boris fired. Like, basically.
Yeah.
Or at least get Boris in trouble. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
my family donates a lot to this school. Like, my family is very important. Like, as if that will do anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant writing, but it's also brilliantly
it is
acted.
brilliant. Oh, 100%. You know what else is brilliantly acted? In that scene when he can't open the door.
Yes. Yes.
He's so pissed and, like, flustered isn't the right word because it has connotations that I don't mean, but,
he's just,
he struggles with the door.
Which also, like, I still can't question, like, does he know where Vincent's door is and he forgot? Or he just, like, he tries 2 other doors before he finds Vincent. Like, was Vincent in someone else's room?
I think so.
Okay. Because I'm just
That's how I listen. That's how I read it.
That makes a lot of sense. Because I'm just like, otherwise I can't, in good conscience, like, even believe that August forgot where one of his best friend's rooms is.
Yeah. No, I think maybe Vincent was just, like, maybe
hanging
he was,
out
like,
with
in
Nils or
Nils's
something.
room.
Yeah. All right. And then something I talked about last time but want to call out is yet another look from Villa while Simon is, like, utterly focused while they're studying. Like, we discussed this at length, but I just want to document that's at 23 minutes and 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, again,
Villa's
it's so
just
good.
staring at him.
It's so good. Like, Edwin
so
also
good.
pops off in this episode potentially even more than he did in last one. Like, it's just like everyone is so good in this episode.
He's so good. Everybody is, like, the perfect actor for their character.
Yeah.
It was cast so well.
And then, while we're still praising Malta, I mentioned it last time, but I'm going to keep bringing it up. August, quote unquote, like, harmless comment about how much he loves rowing, how rowing brings people together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's so good. It's so good. And, like, that is, and it is fully, like, it is definitely probably written on the page with, like, in guidance, but, like, if you just go by what is written in the script of what his dialogue is, like, it doesn't sound bad, but he makes a way to make it sound bad.
Yeah. He has a way of making a lot of things very condescending, which is the character.
Yeah. And a thing that, like, I feel like I don't want to read too far into because I don't know if it's just, like, I don't know if it was this specific thing that drove Simon away, but I always pay attention to the point at which Simon legitimately, like, all at once starts getting up and, like, being like, I need to get out of here, is when he's like, class, ethnicity, and, like, it's on the word ethnicity that Simon gets up, which I think valid. Valid. Like, I think there are ways in which it is really easy to do a class analysis of Young Royals.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some class analyses of Young Royals do miss some intersectionality.
Yes.
Of the fact that Simon is also not Swedish, like, or he's half Swedish.
Yeah.
And half Latino.
100%.
And, like, the fact that, like that, because I think that is the moment where he fully knows it's not a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
And, like he could tell already, but, like, that's the moment when you fully cross the line. Like, you fully been like, oh, class and ethnicity, they stop mattering. Because, like, don't you see this, like, poor, poor son of an immigrant is hanging out with the Prince of Sweden, and look at how cute that is. That you think you guys think you can actually be friends. Like,
Yeah.
it's infuriating, but
It is.
yeah.
It is.
Yes, I'm glad you wrote it down. Like,
My next point.
yeah, I think is your point about Felice, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when Felice invites Sarah and Simon to
Yes.
the movies,
This is something
And then
that a
she
lot of reactors
looks.
miss. I just want to say,
She-
like,
yeah,
yeah,
she looks at Wilhelm and smiles, and he
Mhm.
smiles back. And she's like looking for that approval.
yeah,
Like,
and,
hey, I did a good thing.
yeah, and like the amount of times where I mean, and like, granted, you do have to kind of be looking kind of closely till the very end of the scene to notice this, but like there are some reactors, like the test of like whether I truly like truly really like a reactor is if they pick up on that, because of like the thing about reaction, I've never done them, but I've watched enough of them to kind of realize that part of it is that you kind of have to constantly be thinking of something to say for a scene, and so
Yeah.
when a character does something that surprises you, you comment on it, but sometimes you aren't inclined to further investigate that comment. And so a lot of times people are like, okay, let's go Felice, like maybe she's getting better.
Yeah,
But I think
but
an important moment of grounding is to realize that I will grant that I think she invited Sarah entirely of her own volition, but Simon was very clearly, in the way that Nikita added hastily, and it becomes very clear, it becomes pretty obvious after there, or at least it is implied that she added Simon onto that invitation to get Villa's approval.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, like,
that
hey, I
was-
invited the boy that you're friends with.
like she is starting to become
that was
friends.
great.
Yeah, like she's starting to become friends with Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't extend to Simon because he is Sarah's brother. It extends to Simon because he is Wilhelm's friend.
Yeah.
Which immediately makes it a selfish act.
Yeah.
And that's just what it comes down to. Like don't want to judge her too harshly, but also I think it's worth pointing out that is not an entirely selfless act, the way I think it is easy to be like, oh, wow, she's getting better. Like, yes, she is, but one step forward, a couple steps back. Like,
Yeah.
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 Also, let's just shout out. I mean, one, afterwards, like, then you get August running his mouth off, being very obvious. Like, if you couldn't tell he was being condescending before, it's very obvious how he actually feels afterwards. But in case anyone is wondering, at 24:28, at 24 minutes and 28 seconds, Maddie's "Fuck You, August." If you want to listen to that again,
It's iconic.
the actual queen.
If I could
Maddie.
set that to my alarm to wake up to every morning, I would.
So good.
Just Maddie going, "Fuck you,
as
August."
I think as people who for whom English is our first language, I think that also attributes to why English speakers like Maddie a lot. But also, she's just great.
She's just got one-liners like you wouldn't believe, and I respect it.
Yeah, and the fact that we can immediately understand that without having to look at the subtitles helps us attach to her
true.
too, I think. Both can be true.
Yeah.
Let's see.
My next one is Willem texting.
Oh
Simon.
yeah, same.
Okay.
Just such stress after such a harmless text, such an innocuous
It's so
text.
innocuous.
As you said, innocuous. Like it's
harmless. It's just, hey, why aren't you coming to practice tonight? And he's sweating over it.
it's just like a single text to your crush and you fall apart.
And like, I get it. I also have chronic anxiety. I also stress like that when I send texts. I won't lie.
Yeah.
However,
And
that's one step further.
And genuinely, when I initially watched this episode for the very first time, it was before I'd ever been in a relationship. And now that I have, fucking relatable, man. Fucking relatable.
Damn, does that mean I need to be in a relationship so I can fully appreciate this text?
I think you can.
That's
you
not
can,
going to happen.
You can vibe with it, but I think it's just like, but like, it does feel like, as someone who has had a panic attack before, like,
Hell yeah.
feeling the mind games you put yourself through are not dissimilar. because it is, I mean, when it comes down to it, it is being perceived.
I do hate that.
On a to a degree of like, and this is probably worse because when I was corresponding with someone, this was with the full understanding that both of us were looking for a relationship, and this is someone who Wilhelm doesn't even know his sexuality.
Yeah.
And I mean that in both meanings of that sentence. He doesn't know his own sexuality, and he doesn't know Simon's sexuality.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know what's happening, and it's just like so stressful.
Yeah.
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 I've got a sore throat. Badly faked a sore throat.
That's so fucking funny.
It
still cracks me up.
It's so funny. Do you have anything else from that scene, or do you want it? Or are we?
No, I don't. My next one is when they get off the bus.
Yeah, my next one is how are you at the same time, or I even made the effort of switching to Swedish subtitles and writing out the Swedish, even though I can't say it worth a damn.
That's so relatable. I just wrote "How are you" ×2.
Yeah. Humadu.
I don't know.
Why is today just the day of me trying to badly speak Swedish? I don't
know, but I kind of like it.
It's just, anyways, it's just perfection. Again, this is not a very in-depth episode. This is us sorting through the details of the episode a little bit closer. But yeah, we already talked about why that's so great last episode. So
I just love it.
My next thing is Ayub trying to play it cool when his best friend casually brings the Prince of Sweden to a local soccer game.
Mine is when the girls say the prince, like, "Hey, Prince."
Yeah, that's also fair. That's also very well acted. I just figured we talked about that so much last episode that I didn't even write it down.
Yeah, we did, but I want to showcase it again because I like it a lot. Because you would think at this point in his life, he's been Prince for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
You would think at this point he'd be used to people being like, "Hey," on the street, because he went to public school as well.
Yeah. I think part of it also has to be that this is an immediate refutation of what he was just saying about his
that is also true.
His and Simon's life are so similar. Like he handles it like a champ, but then immediately afterwards he's like, fuck, this kind of defeats the purpose of my point. Like,
but it also kind of makes his point as well. Yeah. Everybody knows who he is, and everybody knows what he's doing.
Yeah. It's just that his space is like all of Sweden instead of just Björnstad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I don't really know how to read Ayub in this scene, but it's just so funny to me. Of just Ayub just like playing it cool, just trying his best.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing I didn't write this down, but Simon not being able to answer what he wants, what kind of hot dog he wants.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, we at this point, from this point onwards, that for most of the episode, that we see a side of Simon that we have not gotten yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because Simon, basically from this game onwards, stops being so guarded.
Yeah.
Like, once Villa starts actively pursuing him and, like, making the risk of, like, sneaking out. Like,
yeah.
We haven't talked about it much yet. And we didn't even talk about much last in Revolution, is that kind of laying down of the gauntlet of Simon being like, tag along if you dare.
Yeah.
Like, smirk emoji. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Simon...
And Wilhelm's like, oh shit, I do dare.
Like, I can see Simon, like, being like, okay, I haven't had time for this. Like, that's the way, at least that's the way that we place his headspace at. Like, of realizing that Wilhelm's looking at him, but, like, until he sees some serious commitment on Wilhelm's side, he's not going to try to entertain this. And then Wilhelm sneaks out, and he's like, oh shit, maybe... Then he starts getting giggly.
Yeah.
And then Ayub recognizes this and calls Simon out. which we've already gone in depth about my personal complicated feelings about Ayub calling Simon about that, because I feel like Ayub doesn't really get the intricacies of why that's not, of why Simon would be being weird about that, but but also I feel like I said like this Ayub saying that does do some of our work as the audience for us, because it's like he does know Simon better than we do, and so like signs that we were pretty clear on become obvious because they're obvious to Ayub.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have anything more about the soccer scene?
Not until they're on the motorcycles.
The motorcycles. I have that for Art of the Frame actually, but. Yeah.
I think it's both.
It is both. I don't have it written down. It was more of an art of the frame moment for me, but I think it definitely is also very well acted because it's like it's just their joy. It's
pure joy.
Pure joy.
Like pure like adolescent joy.
And then it gets ruined by August's scolding of Villa.
Yeah, well, that seems to be a common theme.
Exactly. Like I said, it's like the only way. I mean. Because even then, I'm sure I was about to say like August. The only way that August and Villa's like little struggle is not a metaphor for this entire episode is that it doesn't involve Simon, and then I realize yes it does, because he interrupts Wilhelm looking at Simon's Instagram.
Yup.
Simon's like August is just literally all up in Wilhelm's business, and like. I don't know. I still have a lot of weird questions. I don't even know what they are about how we're meant to take what August says to Villa, and like how much Villa takes it to heart, and like what August's intentions are by it. Like, how well-meaning is August, I think is my question. And that's something we don't have to really address here because it's not really a art of the choice question, but I do kind of, that watching this back did kind of make me question that, of like, what does August mean by giving Wilhelm this speech?
This sounds like an August character episode conversation.
Very much so.
Stay tuned.
Okay, and now shouting out Giddy Simon.
Smiley lovesick Simon in all caps.
Just like all of his just the way he laughs, like that big laugh that he does. I'm forgetting what in response it is to, but to quote Gaywatch, aka Brittany, my favorite reactor on YouTube, oh, he's got it bad.
'Cause he does.
It's just, it's so good. I love Giddy Simon. I
also love Giddy Simon.
I love this side of Simon. Because
it's very giddy.
Yeah, it's just, and then it gets ruined because of August.
Because of August.
Because it's like, can you delete the story showing me? Sorry.
Yeah. It breaks my heart that he does sorry ...
Yeah, because he knows. Wilhelm knows.
Mm-hmm. Like, if he was a dick, he's not. Yeah. He's not. But if he was, he's not. But if he was, he wouldn't follow it up with sorry. He'd just be like, delete it.
Yeah.
But he's not a dick. And he actually genuinely feels bad that he, can't have that out there.
And, like, I think it's like he's realizing. I think I do the one thing that I always watch this back and be like, why? Maybe this happened, but we didn't get to see it. Like, why wouldn't you explain why that's a big deal? Is he gonna just assume that Simon knows?
Probably.
I guess, but like that is an expectation that like was an honest mistake, and I feel like he could have said a little bit more, honestly,
sure.
to recognize that. But I think also it's just so awkward he doesn't want to get into it, which is fair. But I think Simon did deserve a little bit more explanation that he was given. But I mean that this goes into something we talked about last time, which is multiple signs that they are not seeing eye to eye with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they like each other so much, but they're not seeing from the other person's perspective, basically, in the slightest. Like, that sorry is the closest we get. Like,
pretty much.
August's incredibly subtle reactions to being told his tuition has been paid yet.
Yeah. When he's like, I don't know. Oh, she's traveling.
Yeah, the quick lie. And this is probably a bit of art of the frame, but I did include it here because it is also just really great acting. Is like this moment of helplessness while carrying weights. Literally. Stop.
Yeah. I, at 35:45, when August is just popping a pill in the middle of the schoolyard.
Yeah.
For this scene specifically, I'm calling it That's a Choice, not Art of the Choice, because that was bold.
Yeah. I do have something a little bit before that. Not to bring us down by talking about Mika.
Fuck.
But I do need to hand it to both the actor who plays Mika but especially Omar for just the devastating scene of, one, learning something that we didn't really mention last time because it wasn't pertinent to Simon and Wilhelm specifically, but it is going to be pertinent in Simon's character episode. We learned in this episode that Mika is probably how Simon became a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Which, fuck! And like Mika thinking that the previous visit, that this second visit that isn't explicitly for something else is a sign that Simon is willing to reconcile when Simon is still only there for one thing.
Yeah.
And I only have so much sympathy or empathy for Mika.
Mm-hmm.
But that is rough. That is rough.
It is rough.
Yeah. Don't need to dwell on that, but...
Nope. Moving on.
Nope.
Do you have anything before the library scene?
No, I do not.
37:08, first time we see Simon eating an orange.
Those of you who message us about clementines, there you go.
At least I'm pretty sure it's the first one I could find.
No, yeah, I think that definitely feels true. No, yeah. And then our next thing is both the same. I said the forehead kiss, lol. And it's just like the way that Wilhelm and Simon relate to each other by the absurdity of August's class journey speech, as you refer to it. Like, it's just like,
yeah, it's so absurd. And their little like, what the fuck was that at the end gets me every time, because they're both like, August, what? Because Wilhelm knows they both know what August is like.
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody else in that room is like, yeah, he is the class journey. And those two are like, what the hell?
Or they're so used to just kind of agreeing with August because he's team captain and prefect that they're just like not entirely questioning it. They're like, okay, sure, this is maybe a little weird, but like, okay. Yeah. My next thing. Oh, did you? Let's see. No. Oh, I have one more thing before we actually get to the movie, the horror movie proper. Another little dialogue thing I caught. There's a tiny moment when Linda is dropping Simon and Sarah off where Simon thinks he lost his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then he immediately finds it like in his pocket, like he has it, like, but he's like, "Where's my phone?"
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that's so relatable.
And I feel like that's like a hint of how nervous he is for tonight.
Yeah,
because it's like, there's no way Simon could have known what was going to happen that night,
right?
But like, we all know it's definitely leading up to something, at least as the audience, and so like I think it's a moment of like Simon thinking that like, okay, we're out. This is a moment of hanging out with Villa outside of class. Like, it is in a public setting, but like, we'll see how this goes. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, it's just a lot. And I think I think Simon, like, we get an inkling that like Simon feels it in a deep, which I think speaks again to the thing we said over and over in Revolution, which is like, Simon knows what's happening at pretty much every step of the way, and Wilhelm doesn't.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, Simon knows they're about at like holding hands and kissing level, but Wilhelm doesn't.
No, Wilhelm has no idea.
Wilhelm has no idea. But I will say, I don't know if you noticed this time around. They don't. Villa's big move of putting his hand like partially on Simon's knee is like fully after a jump scare. Like, it's not during a jump scare, really.
Right. But he does grab his knee very quickly at the jump scare, retracts it very quickly, and then puts his hand down.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think for me, I was thinking more of like that first conscious moment. I think that really that matters.
That's
more.
after.
Like, yeah, because I always barely catch when him actually grabbing the knee during the jump scare. Because what really feels permanent is that like it's fully well after the jump scare, but it's just like making the choice, put my hand partially on your knee.
Yeah.
And then like. But also, I do want to amend a previous statement. I'm not sure that Wilhelm recognizes that Sarah even sees them holding hands. Like, we know that Sarah does, but I can't tell if Wilhelm does, because I feel like he starts to panic even before she turns to look at them. Like, in the sequence of in the sequence of events, I feel like I saw him starting to panic before Sarah turns.
Hang on, I'm pulling up Netflix.
Like, it really just more seemed like a general realization and sudden like acknowledgement of like, oh no, we're in a crowded room.
That could be.
But a benefit of this, 43-49.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Might want to go a little bit before that because I don't know how exact I was, but.
Why the fuck is Young Royals not on my continue watching? Oh, because I watched the last episode this morning.
Silly Margaret.
Please, computer, I'm genuinely begging. Don't make me beg. Here we go.
Still loading?
No, it's happening.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah, this is my live reaction that you're getting right now. He does look over at Sarah before Sarah looks.
Mm-hmm.
But then Sarah looks at him and down at their hands, and that's when he starts looking around more.
Okay.
So potentially both.
Yeah, potentially both. I can see that. Like, I just don't fully recognize that Wilhelm and Sarah make eye contact. Like, I can't. Like, I can't. Like, I can't tell if he's already looking around at the room while she's looking at them.
That's valid.
I mean, the distinction is minute. Like, regardless, is the cause of the panic is the same. Is like, we could be caught, and like realize and not realizing they're not just alone in a room.
Right.
This isn't Heartstopper.
Fuck. Goddamn. Okay. Moving on.
Anyways, that wasn't shade to Heartstopper, just to be clear. I was just saying, like, this is a different scenario.
Oh, no. I wasn't thinking you were shading it.
No, but yeah. And I mean,
we love Heartstopper as well.
Oh yeah. If that's not clear, listen to our third bonus episode where I couldn't stop talking about it.
In our defense, season 2 had just come out. And that was the first time that we were on mic together since it had come out.
Right. Okay. At 44 minutes exactly, the threat of August spotting Villa leave the room The number of reactors who just can't enjoy their first kiss because they're like, August is going to see. August is going to see. I'm so stressed August is going to see them. Which, the fact that episode 1 and episode 2 end so similarly.
Yeah.
Of which just the threat of August finding Wilhelm and Simon alone.
Yeah. And they really do. That really is the main... Not the main threat, but it is certainly there. Yeah.
And once again, another tiny spoiler for the next episode. He does not spot, like, because this scene does cut off in the middle of their kiss. He does not find them.
Yeah. It's not a spoiler. We already did that this week in Hilarska. That definitely would have made it into it.
But also, like, in a world where we picked up in episode 3 with the kiss and like find out that August saw them. Yeah. So minor spoiler, like August didn't see them.
I'd love to know what happens after that.
Yeah.
Oh well. Headcanon.
Yep. Also, 44 minutes and 48 seconds until 44 minutes 55 seconds is the most realistic depiction of a panic attack ever put to screen.
Correct. So fucking correct.
I don't have words.
I don't have words either, except for the fact that I've had at least 10 panic attacks that look just like that in the last 3 months. Don't read into that.
Yeah.
Just let that go at base value, please.
Yep. Let's just acknowledge that and move on.
Don't tell my therapist.
Yeah. Just, again, not much to say about that. Like, we might bring it up more in the Wilhelm character episode, but just like, damn. Like, if there's any episode if there's any episode that detail belongs in, it's this one, because art of the choice. Oh my god.
And it was artful.
Yes.
We could have another masterclass.
Yeah.
How to act out a panic attack, a masterclass.
Yeah.
By Edvin of Sweden. I had to finish it.
I don't know what the rest of your points are.
Me neither. Oh.
Yeah.
Just Wilhelm never meets Simon's eye for more than like a second or two before the kisses.
Yeah, definitely. And then my point after that is something I acknowledged in This Week in Hilarska, and then basically just read again what I said in This Week in Hilarska because I found that moment so interesting, is this moment when Wilhelm's shock that Simon has kissed him for the first time becomes a yearning for him to kiss him again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just all very readable on his face, as much as he probably doesn't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, like, just speaks to this continued idea that we have of Wilhelm not really knowing what's happening in these first few things. And then when he does realize what's happening, you get, I'm not.
Yeah.
Which
I can't imagine being Simon, and you kiss this boy twice, and he just starts going, I'm not sorry, I'm not.
Like, just panicking. Just panicking.
I'd be out of there. And he tries, but Wilhelm grabs him. Simon could go, Wilhelm didn't know he wanted to kiss me until we had kissed like 2 times.
Yeah.
6 times.
And that is pretty definitive, because if I haven't said it enough times, their first mutual kiss was initiated by Wilhelm.
Yes, it was.
That's so important to me, and I don't know why.
It's important to me because Simon initiates the first 2.
Yeah.
And so he has to make this, like, conscious, like, I cannot initiate this one. This one has to be all him.
Yeah, like, I have to, like, especially this person who's saying, I'm not. Like, I need confirmation that this isn't in my head and that I haven't grossly misread the situation. Which is why I like to call their third kiss overall and their first mutual kiss one of the best blocked kiss scenes in the history of television.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I already gave you a play-by-play in This Week in Literature and in Revolution, because it's just so, it's so well acted. It's just so,
it's so good.
It's so both of them being so precious with this moment, and also neither of them willing to fully go there until both of them have given the other a sign that they want to go there.
And what moment in it is really special to me is once Wilhelm is, because he like jerks his head away a few times and he like kind of can't figure out what he's trying to do here.
Yeah.
And Simon just rests his forehead against him, like, I'll be here when you're ready.
Yeah, and that's something that forehead touch is what I highlight in Art of the Frame when it comes to this scene, and so we'll get to it next week. But yeah, the audience will hear me talk about that next week. But it's so good. And then it's credits.
Credits. Then we're donezo.
Yeah. All right. Some of that was repetitive, but I hope, audience, you appreciated some of the details we brought up. Because, I mean, I know people have reached out to us being like, hey, you put out things that I haven't noticed before. So
yeah, and that's really what we're here for.
Yeah. We're just obsessed with the show, and we want to talk about it with each other regardless, and we would have otherwise, but this way we can do it in a formal way. People can listen to us. So
instead of us just spitballing across a lunch table.
Yeah. And now we're not in college together anymore, so there is no lunch table anymore.
Yeah. No, there's not.
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to keep up to date with when we release new episodes and other pod-related announcements, you can check out our Instagram at People Don't Talk About. Our next episode will be The Art of the Frame, a study of the cinematography in Season 1, Episode 2. Margaret's pumped.
I'm so pumped.
And with that, so stay tuned. And with that, all that's left to say is, let's start
a revolution,
baby.